Hey guys, this is InuyashaFan1324. I'm gonna be reading another creepypasta. I have been sick the last day or two, so I might not sound wonderful, nor do I feel wonderful. Okay, this one is called the Gristers. I do believe it's a rather long one. It might take me more than one video. Alright, well here it goes. Okay, X, or whatever creepy board this makes its way onto, I put it here because I thought that it'd get to the most people to whom it concerned. If you are one of those people who are inherently drawn to horror, you're in real danger. I don't know what it is exactly, and I don't pretend to know everything that's going on. And in fact, myself, I used to be drawn to the more realistic, non-supernatural creepypastas. But, well, let me explain. About a year ago, I was up at 3 in the morning, you know, that part of the night where you're so deep into it it feels like it will never end. Anyway, I was up, clicking around, looking for a good creepypasta I hadn't read before. What really getting myself freaked out, you know, the feeling. I'm sure you like the feeling. That's the problem. Anyway, I'm reading and I hear a pattering sound coming from the kitchen. I had a cat, so I just assumed it was her. But then I glanced on my bed and my cat is there. Now, I've been freaking myself out here for a while, so I was nearly trembling with fear as I opened my bedroom door. I live alone in a single bedroom apartment with just a bedroom, a kitchen, and a living room. Oh, and a bathroom. My bedroom door opens up to the kitchen. It was pitch black, the moonlight gleaming off the linoleum. I strained my ears and listened. I heard nothing. I admonished myself for being such a fucking pussy. It was just random house noises, right? Or maybe a fucking mouse on the walls. I was about to turn and head back to my room when I heard it again, and I saw something scattering across the linoleum in the kitchen, heading for the bathroom. It was small, but it was definitely not a rat. The limbs were way too long. The torso was far too high off the ground, and the way it moved quickly, but so awkwardly. In any other circumstance, I might have laughed at it, but as it was, I was scared shitless. So you know, I basically freeze for like 10 minutes. It was the size of the thing that convinced me to move. No matter how weird or fucked up it was no smaller than me. It was so much smaller than me. It could have been that dangerous, right? So I grabbed the broom, and I have leaning against the wall of the kitchen, flip on the lights, and head back towards the bathroom. I find that with the lights on, I'm barely scared at all. You know, more intrigued. I mean, what the fuck could that thing have been? So I pop open the bathroom door before I turn the lights on. Before I turn on the light, I do a quick scan. Nothing. I'll flick the switch. I look around. Still nothing. I look at the ceiling even. I throw the shower curtains open. Nothing still. What could it have been? My mind started inventing explanations. It had 4 limbs. Maybe it was a big-ass spider who'd lost 4 of its legs somehow. That could explain the awkward movement. It was good enough for me. I was about to go back to the bed when I thought, on a whim, to use my bathroom to poke behind the toilet, behind the wall and the base of the seat. When I did, I hit something solid, and it scurried out. It looked like a tiny human. It was pale white, pale as a maggot, with dirty gray streaks running along its skin. It moved on all fours, with long, thin fingers that grasped the ground. Its skull was completely bald, and it had no eyes, and the skin looked like it had been torn away from the lower half of its face, leaving the exposed teeth and gums. It looked up at me, well, pointed its face in my general direction. Anyway, and then scurried, quick as fuck, up the side of the bath and down into the drain. It moved in quick bursts, like a spider, and climbed straight up smooth surfaces like one too. After it disappeared down the drain, I just stood there, frozen, broom handle still in my hand, for a good 5 minutes. I was scared shitless. I slowly backed out of the bathroom and closed the door, and then stuffed a blanket in the crack between the floor and the door, fearing that it might come out. Then I sat on my bed and wondered what I could do. I mean, it wasn't like I could call the police or even tell any of my friends. It's not like they'd believe me. So, what did I do? Uh, oh, so what did I do? I completely lost my place. Oh, shit. Oh, so what did I do? I made a thread on X. This was quite a while ago, almost a year. You might even remember, shit. Okay, just remember that. Sorry, that was my phone. Just forgot to turn it on silent. Uh, so what did I do? I made a thread on X. This was quite a while ago, almost a year. Uh, you might even remember it. It wasn't anything special. And it didn't even get that many responses before falling off the boards. I guess people thought I was just joking, which really I would have thought the same thing. My thread, in retrospect, sounds exactly like the type of threads I hate. But besides from all the OP is a fag and Sage responses, there's one other thing, or there was one other one. I've seen them too, man. Email me, along with an email address that I'm not going to give out here. So I emailed this kid, right? Right away he responds and we start up a conversation in IRC. He introduces himself as John, then basically tells me a very similar story, very similar story one night ago. A few months ago, reading creepypasta, he heard a noise, got up, and saw the small pale man. His was a bit bigger, he said. It was the size of a cat, but he also told me one other thing, that I'd be seeing more of them. He said that ever since he saw the first one, he's been seeing more and more of them out everywhere, even in the street during the day. They were everywhere, he said, and once you noticed the first one, it got a lot easier to see all the other ones. He had no idea what they were, and hadn't figured out their behavior yet. He said that usually when he saw them or heard them in his own home, he was reading creepypasta, so they usually freaked him out, something awful, but he said again, he'd never actually seen them do anything terrible, just scurry out of sight. But he said some got pretty big, and not all of them looked exactly the same. I still didn't sleep that night, but over the next week, and those that followed, I found that I did get used to them. I did see more of them. I'd glimpsed them out of the corner of my eye, or I'd seen them retreating rear end. I'd seen the retreating rear end of one crawling into a gutter pipe, or seen their tiny faces staring out at the street from the sewers. So some, it seemed, weren't even trying to hide. I live in Providence, Rhode Island, which is a small city. On my way to work one day, I take the bus. I was looking out the window and saw a pretty large one, as large as a medium-sized dog, trotting along the sidewalk. People were actually just walking by it. Actually, I think a lot of people saw it as a dog. One man stopped to scratch its head. I'd always email John and tell him about the experiences that I saw. I even tried to catch some on camera, but they always heard the mechanical whirring and darted away before my camera could take a picture. I told myself I'd have to take a picture of one of the bigger, slower ones. But either way, as the weeks wore on, I became more and more used to them. Sure, they were creepy as shit, but I could never sit down on the toilet, and I could never sit down on the toilet and enjoy a long crap anymore, because I was paranoid as fuck that they'd climb out in the bowl and bite me on the ass. But they weren't really doing anything harmful. They unnerved the fuck out of me, but so did big spiders. I could live with them. John called them the Gristers, because he said they reminded him of the Grister meme on X for some reason. I'm pretty sure he meant the Grifter meme, but the name Grister stuck. I continued my exchanges with John, but I noticed that he was becoming more and more terse. It was hard to tell over text, but really that was the only way to put it. I just figured that once the novelty of a shared experience had worn off, we didn't really have much to talk about. John wasn't really my type. He was a steroid-pumping bodybuilder in southern Florida who lived with his mother. Uh, but we started discussing Grister behavior, and he said that his were starting to act a bit differently than the ones I saw. He'd wake up at night and they'd be perched at the end of his bed, staring at him with those eyeless faces. They wouldn't scurry away anymore. He said he woke up one time because one of them had actually started touching his face. That seemed unnerving. This whole time, I'd been putting out inquiries on the internet to see if anyone else had experienced this phenomenon. I couldn't be the only one, but no one came forward. On X, most of my threads about the subject got saged, so eventually I stopped asking. But I have an inquisitive mind. I wanted to know what these things did, what exactly they were. I even wanted to capture one. I left out food and mouse traps, but none of these ever went for it. My cat would notice them, though. She'd hiss at them and even chase them a couple times. All those times when I'd seen her do that, and assumed she was being a dumbass cat chasing at nothing. One night, I was walking home from work alone. I work at a call center for a police charity, and my house is about 6 miles away. I'd had to stay late, so there was no bus to come pick me up. And I didn't really have all that many friends, so I had to walk. Anyway, I was walking past some old abandoned brick house, it's creepy as shit. Or some old abandoned brick houses, creepy shit. Let me tell you, when I heard some weird low groan. Uh, Now, that's when I happened to notice that there was a lot more gristers than usual here. They were mostly ignoring me, but they were scurrying in and out of one particular brick house. The groaning sound seemed to be coming from the alley beside it. Now, a lot of gristers were creepy enough, even without that low groaning noise. What made what made me decide to investigate? I don't know, morbid curiosity. I'd always look for some creepy gore stuff to post on the boards. I thought that maybe that I thought maybe that the groaning was some kind of wounded animal. So I approached the side of the house, nothing that no, noting that the windows were boarded up. The groaning, I should have known that it was no animal. It was a low, creaking, gurgling sound. It didn't sound like any fucking animal I knew. So I snuck down the alley, and when I saw what was making that noise, I nearly pissed myself. It was a fat, humongous grister, at least 8 feet wide, completely unable to move, with the rolls of fat hanging down over its legs. It had no neck, just 14 chins leading up to its uh, macabre, macro, I have no idea how to pronounce it, I'm sorry. Macabre exposed jaw. Dirty drool ran down its chin to cover its obscenely huge belly. Smaller gristers crawled in and out of the rolls of its fat. It rubbed itself with a pudgy claw, making that groaning, gurgling sound which seemed almost sexual. It was terrible. I know it doesn't sound like it, and objectively, I can think that a fat, cooing grister rubbing itself might sound pretty funny, but actually, in the presence of the thing, all I felt was a sick revulsion and disgust. But, but I kept in mind that one thing that I had been looking for, a picture of these things. So I busted out my camera phone and snapped a picture. I wish I hadn't. If I hadn't, I think maybe I could have lasted a little longer.